Hi, all. We're going to take a look at Chapter 7, where we're going to talk about communicating and collaboration and making. So, digital communications. There's two main types, and you may have already heard these words before. The first is synchronous. This means it's intended to be seen immediately. Things like Snapchat and Remind, and then we've got asynchronous. And this is left for people to read later, emails, listservs, group messages. Our online platform that you're using right now is asynchronous. You're doing it at your own pace and your own time. Now, we also have things like emails and listservs and groups. And emails, this is a great way to exchange multimedia messages. And if you're a teacher, I highly recommend you have two different accounts. One is your personal account and one is your professional account. And so when you're signing up for different things such as these different media and technology platforms, use that professional account. And then you've got things like your listservs. This maintains and stores giant mailing lists of emails so that you can communicate back and forth. And then group email works about the same way, and it just allows simultaneous messaging to all these groups. And all of these things can be built in to your student information system, your SIS, or learning management system, your LMS in your school. Now, I'm sure you guys are very familiar with text messaging or texting, and this allows for synchronous and asynchronous using mobile phones. And then we've got instant messaging, and this allows you to send the multimedia messages via internet or desktop or laptop. Things like WhatsApp and Snapchat and Google Chat fall into that category. So when we're talking about the audio and video there, we've got things like podcasts, and this is a broadcast that you do via audio. And I know most of us have those podcast sites on our phone, and we listen to various podcasts all the time. Then we have what's called a vodcast. So it's a video podcast, something like YouTube would fall in that area. And then we've got a thing called vlogs. These are in essence video blogs. So your posts, instead of being words, are going to be video clips. And then of course we have film and screencast, what I'm using right now, that records the activity on the screen, and some of them also record audio, and some of them you can record both the screen, the audio, and the person speaking. So how are we going to integrate some of these strategies of digital communication in our classrooms? Because that's the point. One of the most popular ones is Pen Pal Writing Exchange, and you can link a partner to a distant location. WhatsApp allows you to do this on some of their platforms, and so you're utilizing technology. Unlike when I was a kid and Pen Pal exchanges were literally pen and paper. Then you also have the idea of mentoring, where students can connect with a professional in the field to give them feedback on projects and ideas that they're doing. This is also great for parent communication, things like Class Dojo to get back and forth and messaging to parents, and then interpersonal discussions where students can communicate with each other. It also allows for demonstration of frequently performed procedures. We will talk about this in Chapter 9, the idea of video modeling. This is great, especially for students who have disabilities and they're trying to learn in different social situations. Then students can also create audio and visual presentations that they can share with others. So then how do we collaborate? Well, I'm sure you guys are very familiar with social networking and these social networking sites. And these are different websites or apps where individuals create profiles. You can add content, you can interact with other members, and there's ways that you can integrate this. So it's a good way of communicating with parents and other community members. It's also great for collaborating and commenting on student work and being able to work back and forth. And they're good for professional learning and sharing, as we had learned earlier. So blogs, these are great as far as online content. Your students can post on these and create their own blogs. And of course, they can put on their text and typing, but many of these blogs, you can also add images and videos and post and bring in other documents as well. And it allows other people to comment on the content that's in there, and allows the author of the blog to respond to those comments. So these are really great for engaging writing because they're writing for a purpose for an audience that's not just you or their classmates. It also allows for collaboration in content areas with that back and forth. This is a great way also of an alternative formative assessment to get an idea of students' writing and abilities, and communication among teacher communities. So you as a teacher can have a blog where you're communicating with others in your field. And this also, blogs increase interaction with parents and community members if you're keeping one as a teacher as well. And they're great for getting other updates and insights on educational topics. You can get new ideas that you can try in your class. Then there's the idea of what you call microblogs. And these are short form multi-messages, and they allow for links, hashtags, videos, pictures, photos. But these also have privacy settings, so you can block certain individuals and allow certain individuals in. So in other words, if you were going to use a microblog in your classroom, this creates a shared learning experience. So students can communicate with each other through these microblogs in your classroom. It also allows mentors, when students are working with those who are professionals in the field trying to improve a craft or a task that they're doing, it's an easy way to communicate with them. They can also follow current events. And as with most of these, you can use it as a formative assessment for how students are doing. Now, I know we all know what Wikipedia is, and we always say, no, you can't use that as one of your research sites. And part of it is because anybody can contribute to wiki content. It doesn't necessarily need to be a professional. And so these are collaborative created web pages, and many users are going to be contributing at once and modifying content. But you can use these in your classroom. They're really good for collaborative workspaces for your students to create different things or keep a portfolio. And it's a great way for you to have a resource sharing location where you can bring your materials together. Then there's also video conferencing. And as you guys move forward into teacher ed, we will be using video conferencing after we watch some of your student teaching videos. And this is a multi-way live web-based communication medium. Those of you guys, and that should be all of you, who were in school during COVID, you know, a lot of your classes went to online learning, and some of that was going through Zoom, which is a form of video conferencing. So you can see, hear, interact, although if you were like my students during Zoom, most of you shut your cameras off. But the point is that you can actually see others. These are also good for field trips, having students be able to experience something outside, and for parent-teacher conferences. If you have a parent that can't get to the school, this is a great way to still have that face-to-face, if you would, communication. Then we have the idea of digital making. And this is where you have literally maker spaces. This is where students can be creative. They're designing, they're inquiring, they're experimenting, and they're building these artifacts of their learning. So organization of the maker spaces, you can have open access where students, they are just free to engage and explore on their own. Then you can have curriculum aligned. And this is where the teachers are going to guide activities that align with the curriculum. And I'll be honest with you, this is what I lean towards in my classroom as far as when we were integrating technology. And then you've got what's called a scripted. And this is where the Makerspace program, it's going to guide students in a set project through the beginning to completion, or you can have a combination of all of these. But one of the cool things about digital making is studies have shown that digital making increases students' computational thinking. So when you have students engaged in this, their computational thinking is much higher than students who do not participate in digital making. Now, one of these maker spaces is robotics, and some of you might have heard Robotics First or Lego Robotics. Our son was actually involved in this when he was in middle school and high school, and it's a great program where students are building robots and then programming with code, and then they are then competing with them for these robots to do different challenges, and they get points, and it's really amazing how it works. And these can either be after school usually, or sometimes if there's a STEM school, it's integrated actually into the curriculum. Then you have 3D modeling and animation. And this can be something like using a CAD program where you can design and print 3D objects. You also have animation tools. So stop motion studios, one my kids had used before, and it's a great way for kids to be creative and retell stories and plot lines. Then you also can have students who do game and app design development, and they can create their own video games and their own apps. And this helps students across multiple areas, because when you think of what a game or app is, the base of it, it's a story. They have to have a script in head. They're going to have to draw and animate and then have computer skills and computational thinking. So this crosses a wide area of learning. Students can also build virtual worlds through virtual reality, VR, those head-mounted head-mounted displays or on computer desktops. The Oculus is a good example of these virtual worlds and virtual realities. And you can integrate this into your curriculum where students are able to explore geometric shapes or algebraic problems and rotate and see things from all dimensions. You can replicate historic places that aren't even around anymore. They can tour ancient Rome. You can create visual poems, and players can walk through the pictures that you are creating. So then you can also build an augmented reality. And this is a combined platform, creates a computer-generated environment. And you can make a real-life scene, and it's overlaid with information that enhances it. So how you can use this, you can create scientific games. Or this one is really cool. You can create a school-based problem or escape room, if you would, with QR codes that come into it. And then you can make AR picture books or visual poems. But here it is. When you are working this and you want to do digital making in your class, you first have to have a vision as a teacher. What is this going to look like? What can my students accomplish? And then you have to bridge their out-of-school experiences with in-school maker spaces. You have to realize that these are going to be interdisciplinary learning. You may not just be staying within your element of English language arts. You're going to have to integrate science and history and math, and leveled experience is based on the abilities of your students. You as a teacher, this is not a completely hands-off. You will have to guide and facilitate, and you're going to have to develop multiple ways to assess your students.